Hello, everyone. Come on in. I'm just going to kind of give it a bit of time for everyone to just kind of slowly make their way in. So, hey, everyone, welcome. Come on in. I'll just let you all kind of slowly mosey on in, grab your coffee, do your thing, sit down with your kind of breakfast if you want to kind of sit and listen to me while you kind of enjoy that. But definitely just, I'm going to let you guys all roll in slowly and I'll kind of just wait a bit just so we can get everyone in and really settled, and then we can go from there. Awesome. Not long now to wait. Okay, hello everyone. I think everyone's coming in. It's all kind of settled down now with everyone joining, so I'll let them all just join as we go. But hello and welcome to our webinar today. Today I'm going to be running you through all of the hazard management that you need to know about within SiteApp Pro. So very exciting things ahead. Now, just to bit of rules around today, definitely feel free to just jump straight into the Q&A with any questions you might have straight off the bat. I will get to them when we get to the Q&A session or section, but Sophie Rose is also here with me today, and she'll be kind of guiding and answering some of those questions too, and then we'll kind of collaborate together to talk to you guys in that Q&A part. So definitely pop those in now, and Sophie can start helping you out with those while I'm talking about the demo side of things. But yes, go ahead. Also, feel free to chuck anything in the chat to say hey to everyone. You guys can all kind of communicate through the chat as well. So tell each other about what you're doing with SiteApp Pro and how you kind of, are using the system and loving it, really. So yes, jump in, go for your life, talk as much as you want in regards to that chat side of things. But without further ado, I'm going to kind of jump into everything today and guide you through what our kind of process of today is going to be. So firstly, I will be going into a live demo. So I'm going to jump into my account and kind of guide you through the different stages of hazard board or hazard kind of management and how we can set it up, report on it, document on it, and all that kind of good stuff. So very exciting stuff today. I know a lot of you are wanting to hear lots about this topic. It is one of our most important parts of health and safety, so definitely a very vital one for us to be learning about. Then what we're going to do is jump into our Q&A section. So again, those questions that you pop in there will be answered by Sophie throughout, but also when we get to the Q&A part, Sophie and I will jump on, chat about the kind of questions you guys are coming through with, and kind of talk about it in more detail. And then I can also guide you guys in the actual account as well as to where to go for those certain things you want to find out about. Then lastly, I've just got some support resources that we can definitely guide you to. They're just helpful for any kind of extra learning you want to take on, and just, get your kind of knowledge up to scratch with SiteApp Pro. So I'll obviously show you all of that. And in the emails and everything after this, I will kind of guide you with all those links as well. So don't stress about kind of writing it down or anything, but it is all kind of there just for you to explore. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump into my account. So as we can see here, I'm just going to quickly go into my dashboard. We've got on the left-hand side, the admin console, which is that kind of computer version of everything. So where the administrators generally live, and then to kind of set up everything and change your forms and all that. And then to the right is that mobile view where the team also lives, but admins obviously can too, of course. So I've got them here kind of so we can look at what we're setting up and how it's flowing through for the team as well, just so we can have that dual visual there. Cool. So first off, we're going to just kind of set up our hazard kind of settings as such. So I'm going to jump into my resources here. You will all generally have a list of risks and hazards and control measures that you'll generally come across or kind of put in place to reduce risk in your system or your company. So what we can do within your resources tab is we can set up that list of hazards and risks and also your control measures. But starting with hazards and risks, this is that kind of pre-added list that we provide, and you can just kind of turn off anything that you know your team doesn't really come across. So kind of go through this list and customize it to suit exactly what your team's actually going to need to engage with, because this list will come through in all of those hazard drop downs that the team can kind of choose from within the system. So yes, choose from the ones we've already got loaded in. And then at the very, very bottom, there's actually a custom section as well. So this is really helpful if you have additional hazards and risks that are over and above what our list provides, so that you can kind of type in whatever you need there, and then the team can kind of pick from those as well. If you want completely to kind of turn off all the others and then just have your own custom ones, that's also a way some people do it. So totally up to you. Go for your life and build what you need. Now that's the hazards and risks side of things. There is obviously the control measures side as well. So this one here is similar kind of situation. We have the options here to choose or turn off if you know that those aren't certain control measures that you need to put in place. And then at the very bottom, we have got that custom section as well. So again, there might be specific control measures your team actually usually puts in place. You might want to pop those in here as a custom one, and then that comes down in the drop down for the team to choose from. Perfect. So that's where we kind of just customize and choose our hazards and then also our control measures to kind of come up in those forms, and also our hazard board as well to choose from. Then from here, I also just want to touch on the fact that we can also upload obviously documents and certificates and permits as a company-wide register. So a lot of people, especially like our New Zealand clients, have SOPs or safe work method statements, which are more kind of hazard-related documents or resources that the team might need to acknowledge within the system, whether that be in a form or within kind of, just resources to look at in general. So what you can do is jump into these documents or certificates and permit sections and just upload it as a general company-wide kind of resource or hazard resource to be acknowledged or pulled through to different places. So orange plus button, add the document, and then we can just upload that PDF. A lot of people put in their risk matrices as well. So that's there if you need to view or put into a form for people, and then we can kind of upload it, add it to the list, and then I'll show you in a second how we can kind of utilize that resource in a later way. Perfect. Certificates and permits is a little bit different to the documents one. It allows you to put an expiry date onto it as well additionally. So in here, I can kind of put in my upload of my PDF, the name, and then also that expiry date, just in case you know there's different kind of processes that might be expiring after a certain amount of time. You can definitely put that in. Another way to use this is also putting in a register of all of your hazardous substances. So you could load it in here as a resource with the name, any kind of status or kind of numbers that you might put towards that substance. And then we can put an expiry date as well on that to keep track of when we need to kind of be checking on those or maintaining that kind of substance register really. And then from there, because we might have that register all loaded in, we can then go and export that list out as well, so that you can send it off to anyone who needs your hazardous substance register too. So really handy. There's definitely those few different ways we can utilize these kind of settings here. So have a bit of a think about what kind of resources you might want to upload, and then also kind of going and editing those hazards and control measures as well. Beautiful. Now let's start with kind of where we can implement all of these settings. So we've got our sites, obviously, that we've got loaded in. Now, within those sites, we can obviously dive a bit deeper and add more layers to them. For example, I'm going to go into my Bush Road job, and I'm going to open that up with the edit button. And within the hazard board section, we can add in our site-wide risk assessment or risk register as such. So this is going to be specific to my Bush Road project, and I've got all of the different hazards that I can load in here that are going to be on that site for the team to engage with or have to be aware of. So what I've got here is a few that I've already loaded in, which you can definitely jump into and edit if you need to. So I can change the hazard. This is where that kind of drop down list of all the hazards will show up. and we can choose which one we need to change if we need to change it. You can make the status live. If you maybe know that it's not live anymore, you can change it to not live. Or if you know that it's going to be live until a certain date, we can then go live until, and it allows us to put that date in so that we know, okay, this is going to be kind of finished around this time and it'll be removed from the board so the team don't have to worry about it and they know it's kind of just there till this date. I'll pop this one back to live. Then we go and put in our categories. So obviously these kind of fall into different categories of our hazards. And then also our control measures. So this is where we had that other drop-down list that we can select and customize. And this is just kind of those different things you're going to put in place to mitigate that risk for the team. So we can choose a few of those if we want to. And now we have to do our risk matrix around it. So we're going to do that impact of it, the consequences. We can choose how kind of serious it's going to be, and then also the likelihood of it as well. So maybe this might not be very likely or it's very likely. And then because of those different ratings we've given it, it's going to tell us our risk impact. Then from there, you can go and put in any PPE that's going to be applicable for the team. So we might need a hard hat or a hard hat with a strap maybe for this kind of hazard. And then if you have additional PPE that you know the team engage with, then we're going to use the add other PPE option there. Last little thing you can add in is the images. This is really helpful if you do have any evidence of things that you need to kind of show to the team. For example, if there's like a bee's wasp nest or something like that, you kind of take a photo of it so they know where it is, and different things like that. So that is the admin console side of loading in the hazard to your hazard board. I'll just quickly exit out of that one because we've already loaded it in. Cool. So now I'm going to have this list of the different hazards I've got that I've kind of created. Now, for example, if you have got a hazard that might already be on a different site that you've dealt with before, and you know that, okay, I've now just created this bush road project, and I know that I'm going to come across maybe that bees, wasps hazard again, because I've seen that's on my site. So I need to make sure I import that to this site as well. We've already built it once. We don't need to build it more. So what we're going to do is click on import. And you can kind of see the drop-down list now of all the other sites that you've loaded hazards into, and we can just kind of choose which one we want. So maybe I want bees, wasps, etc. Well, that's a mouthful. And we're going to click import, and now that's going to show up on this board as well. So a really nice way to kind of easy use for all that admin side of things. You don't have to keep loading in all of them. So we can just import them, make it really simple for yourself. Cool. So that's loading it in on the admin console side. Once you have that in, it'll then flow through to the mobile for the team. So we're going to just jump over here to the right now. You can see here, I'm on the Heritage Restoration Birkenhead site. So I'm quickly on this site here. I might want to go and see in the hazard board here, oh, I've got 7 new hazards that I haven't looked at. So me as a user can see there's new ones loaded in there. I'm going to jump into that hazard board, and you can see each individual kind of hazard loaded in to the right here. So I can click into this if I need to edit it in any way. So maybe the status is not live anymore for the slips, trips, and falls hazard. So I can jump in here and change it to not live, or maybe I know it's going to be cleaned up by the end of the day. So I can make today the last day for it. Cool. That's all good there in regards to editing. We might be able to add some more PPE. If they've got images they can attach images as well. So that's how the team can kind of edit the ones you've already loaded in, or that anyone else has loaded in as well. Now they might find something that's additional. So there's another hazard that hasn't been acknowledged or shown on this board. So what I can do as a user is go into the top right, and I can click new. This is going to allow me to have that blank template that kind of starts from fresh, and I can add a new hazard in, put a new status to it, and all that kind of good stuff as well. Once I've added that in, the team will all then get that kind of notification on their hazard board to say there's something new that you need to go and acknowledge. Now, in regards to the acknowledgements, as you can see in these kind of different tiles, you can see the top right has a red dot. So that means that this is a hazard I haven't read and acknowledged yet or understood. So what I need to do is scroll down to the very bottom, past all my hazards, and see read and understood. Once I click this, it tells me that, okay, all of these hazards that are currently on the board will be kind of chosen as, yes, Rochelle has gone in, she's looked at all of her hazards, she knows what's happening, she's good to go. And then if anything gets added over and above it, it'll then have that red dot additionally to that green dot one, and then I can go and read and understand that. Now, once I've gone and acknowledged those, and the rest of my team has too, When we go into the admin console, when I run into my heritage restoration, I can go into the edit button, find that hazard board, and then within this, you can see the acknowledgements to the right here starting to kind of build up. So we can see that my team is now engaging with these hazards, and we can kind of get that acknowledgement pulling through. In regards to reporting and exporting all of this information, we can go into this acknowledgements button here, and it'll give you a CSV file of who kind of acknowledged which hazards, what time, and all that kind of detail you need to see. So have a bit of an explore of that kind of report that pulls out once the team started to engage with your hazard board, and we can kind of get that information all compiled. Additionally, in a report sense, you can also click on this eye icon to the right here, and that's going to give a kind of PDF report summary of all of those hazards that you've loaded into the board. So we can see all of them with their risk matrices, any PPE that was additionally added, and you can also see the acknowledgements added and tallied there as well. So really handy if you want to get a kind of nice visual to send out. A lot of people need like a site-wide risk register. So you can send this out and say, yep, these are all the risks the teams have kind of come across. And there will be additional ones added if we need it. Perfect. From there, you can kind of print it off, save it as a PDF, and also emailing it out to whoever you need to. Great. All right. That is the gist of your hazard board, and then how the team engages with it in the mobile view as well. And then I'll touch on the reporting, some more reporting around it later as well. But there's the gist of kind of building it up and getting it all out to the team. Now let's move through to some forms. So in the form section, this is that list you've got of all the forms in your account. I've just kind of filtered this down to the hazard related ones so that we can kind of hone in on those today. But what we've got here is a few different kind of hazard related things. Asbestos is something that some of you might be engaging with, others might not. So definitely jump into the few asbestos forms we've got, and then you can kind of edit and customize them to make your hazard be more easy to deal with. But that's there for you guys if you need it. We do have other few forms that are more important and more utilized than others. So this one, for example, risk assessment, is a really, really handy one that we've got here. The base or design of it is kind of like a JSA or task analysis. So it kind of has that task. We then do a kind of work step on it, and then we do the risk matrix around that work step on that task. And then we can kind of have different things within this form that kind of repeat it and make it kind of built on over time. So for example, with this form, what I might want to do is just duplicate it. You maybe don't want to have the name risk assessment, so I might duplicate this form and I might just rename it JSA. Then I'm going to scroll down. I can see in the form design, we've got that task here, we've got the work step, and then that risk matrix around it as well. As you can see in the header here, this is allowing me to kind of have multiple answers. Because the header has this selected, what that means is that any question below it is going to repeat more and more and more based on how many work steps we need to be kind of achieving for this. So that's really handy because you might have maybe 4 work steps in relation to that task. Really good if you kind of want to build over on this form over time. Now, this form can be kind of chosen or selected or shown to the team in multiple ways. So this setting here is so that we can kind of have it as ad hoc, where it's just kind of chosen once off, and we might want to just kind of do the task for the day and then complete 4 work steps on that task and then save that form. It's good for today. Or alternatively, a lot of people like to pin this form. So a pinned form is more of a live living form where it gets attached to a site specifically. And this is going to be a JSA that would be kind of built on over time. So maybe across 4 days, we might put in multiple tasks with all their work steps added into that. So that as an administrator, by the end of the job or by the end of the 4 days, you have one report to pull out rather than a JSA on Monday, a JSA on Tuesday, and a JSA on Wednesday. So totally up to you how you want to kind of complete your JSA or task analyses. Gosh, that's a lot of words. But you can definitely kind of either have it as that one-off form the team kind of go to as and when required, or we can pin it to the site that it's specific to, and then we can all build on it slowly over time. Now, the ad hoc version is definitely can be set up with this kind of functionality where we just got the task and then the work step is repeated. But if we were going to pin the form to a specific site and slowly build on it over days, we would want to have the task also repeating. So what you would want to do is put the task within that repeating section. so that day one, everyone jumps in, someone does the task, they do maybe 3 work steps on it, and those 3 work steps have the same task in each kind of section. And then the next day, you put in a different task with the first work step, and then so on. So it just kind of gets built on over time, just so that the task is also repeating with those work steps. So just keep that in mind when you're kind of building the forms, or whatever functionality you want to put them in for the team. Then that means we kind of just want to put them in different building or different kind of structures so they suit that functionality better. Awesome. So that is your task-based or your kind of work step related risk assessment. And then we have that hazard board for our kind of site-wide risk assessment or risk register as such. Awesome. So I'm going to save that one off. We're all good to go. Now, in regards to the, I've done something wrong there. Where is it? Oh, that's why I've already renamed something like that. Let's do it TA. There you go. Oh, it hates me. Oh my goodness. There you go. Okay, cool. So we'll save that off, and that's all ready to go now. And then what we need to do is kind of choose those different settings. So if I did go into here and we have JSA, we'll kind of open that one up. And we can just have that as ad hoc. So we've got no schedule set to it. It's ad hoc if we just want to go to it as and when required. Or alternatively, what we can do is that pinned option. So jumping into sites here, finding maybe the Bush Road job, we go into the edit button for that. And I'm going to go into pinned forms. And this is where I can then go into pick which site or which job I wanted for that. So I'm going to go and get JSA. I'll go from fresh. I'm going to pick my JSA or TA, import that, and then that's now going to be available on that site for the team to kind of jump into. So when we save this off, I'll go into my mobile side of things, and I just want to run into the Bush job. I'm going to go into the to-do list and maybe just refresh my app as well. And we can kind of see that now at the bottom as our kind of pinned form. So that's there now for me to jump in day one, add all the information for that first task I do. And then from the rest of the days through the job, we can kind of add on additional information, and any team member can see the stuff from days prior. So have a think about your forms or your task analysis forms or risk assessments and how they kind of need to be engaging with that kind of form so we can set it to the right setting. Awesome. All right. Jumping back into forms, I just want to jump into those other hazard forms we have as well. So if I could spell correctly, 1 second, there we go. So what we can see here is also the Swims Builder or Swims Viewer. Now, I've used the example of Swims, which is that safe work method statement. So that is that resource that we could have uploaded in the resources section, as I explained at the beginning. And this is kind of a form that you can utilize for any hazard kind of resource that you want to pull through to a form for the team. So say they need to look at safe operating procedures or anything like that, where they need to have an acknowledgement of a resource within the form in regards to your hazards and your analysis of that. So I've got kind of 2 versions of this form here, which you can work with. So the Swims Builder is a broken down interactive form of a Swims resource. So if I open that up, you can see within here, it's actually breaking down that Swims resource. Instead of it just being a viewable thing, it's kind of actually interactive. So the team can start to answer the questions within it from the mobile view. So that's there if you want to utilize it. And if you did want to kind of do any other kind of resource that you want to input here, you could just kind of change the name of it, just duplicate it, change the name, and change those questions to be more interactive in regards to the resource you have linking through. So we'll save that one off. Then you have the viewer, which is actually pulling through the resource as a viewable item. So if I scroll down to the design here, you can see it says, please view the swims. I can then have the answer type of resource select from. This one here allows the team to kind of choose from the list of resources that they need to kind of view or could view. Or you could even choose selected resource, and then you can choose which resource you want to actually link through. So they have to look at that one specifically and then go and kind of sign off on it. So really handy if you've already got a pre-done hazard resource that they need to acknowledge or look at, and we need to get those sign-offs on it. So we can link it through as a resource, have them sign off on it, and we can kind of go from there. Now, this can be kind of done as an individual completion for one user, or you could have this section where it kind of signs off as allowing multiple answers so that the team can all kind of add to it slowly over time if they need to. or they can all kind of add their signatures into the one form so that you just have one report to pull out at the end. Again, making your life a bit easier in regards to that reporting side of things. Awesome. Okay, so that is the gist there with those ones. I'll pop this one back to resource select from because I want my team to be able to see which forms they can or resources they can choose from, and we'll save that off. Now, there are a few other forms that we can utilize as well. Obviously, our environmental management plan is there if you need it. A lot of people kind of pin this as well as that kind of live living functionality so that you can see it at all times, jump into it, kind of add to it if we need to. Same things with the hazardous substances register. This is the form that you can utilize if you don't want to just load all of your hazardous substances into the resources, so you can export that list out. You can also build them into a form so that way you have a report to pull out at the end, and then that way it's all kind of in one form and report to email or CSV or print or whatever you need to do with it. So yeah, have a little bit of a think about the different kind of ways you want to utilize these forms, or if you want to utilize the resources or hazard boards and things like that. Another one as well is the basic site-specific risk assessment. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but it is really useful if you want to have that general site-wide kind of risk matrix being done. The hazard board does do it beautifully already, as we've got that kind of hazards loaded in. The team have the button in the home screen and they can kind of get those acknowledgements pulling through. But if you want to use more of a form base, you can utilize this basic site-specific risk assessment, and the team can kind of add some notes and things like that to it as well. So up to you how you want to go, but yes, definitely that hazard board one there is a nice, beautiful kind of way to get the reports out and things like that. Awesome. All right. So that is the idea of kind of initially setting up in our resources, all our hazards and everything, and all the resources we might be looking at in regards to hazards. And then we've got our different hazard board settings as well, and how that flows through the app. And then lastly, now we've got these forms as to how we can kind of utilize those in regards to our hazard management. Now, once we've captured all this data, we obviously need to report on it. So from here, I want to jump into our reports tab. And you can generally see that we've got obviously our reports from form reports. And this is a really great place where you can come in and kind of get out any forms of our completion and the answers within them. So that's where form reports is really handy. If you need to kind of get a CSV of a date range of maybe I've got kind of, for example, I've got my JSA, I've got one of them completed here. So I'll go in, this is based on the last 7 days, I'll go and pull out this report. It only has one, but if I had more than one, it would have multiple lines, and then you can see all of my answers to the right as well. So that's really handy if you want full kind of transparency into the completion of these forms. Cool. Obviously from here as well, you can print, email, export it as a CSV, do all that kind of good stuff. Then you have your completed forms. So this is where we can dive into all of those different forms we need to define. So you might want to put in here, maybe let's do JSA again. We've got that one that'll pull through that we just saw before. And then we can see the date it's done. It's more of kind of a completion. So you see the date, what kind of the name of the job is, who completed it, and what site it was done on as well. And then we can open that individual form up and see it in that PDF view. So you can get those answers within it in a kind of different format. If you did have a list of multiple forms here, then we can kind of export this out as CSV and it'll give you the list of completion. So again, you're going to capture the how many we've done of this within the date range, who did them, and what sites they were done on as well. So those are the kind of differences between your completed forms in regards to capturing those hazard reports, and then the form reports where it kind of actually has all the answers within that CSV view for your hazard reports as well. Awesome. So that's the generic kind of form completion to capture. But then we also might want to get some analysis on this as well. So within our dashboard, and just bearing in mind as well, just so that you're aware, there's different pack sizes that get different levels of reporting. So everyone will have access to that kind of general report where you can see the completion of those hazards. But we also have this analysis tab here, which is available for our higher pack sizes. So if you find that you really want to utilize this analysis feature that I'm going to go through in a second, then let us know and we can kind of talk to you about maybe going up to that pack size where you can utilize this as well. So first off, completed forms is going to give you that kind of general completed aspect there as well. So you get the kind of similar basis to what the general reports give you. But this is more kind of visually aesthetic, I guess you could say. And what we can do is start to drill down into certain things too. So definitely within the completed forms, you can kind of find your form name and you can hone in on that specific hazard forms you need to find. And then we can keep drilling down. So I'd filtered by form name and maybe go into JSA. And I can drill down. So we know we've got a lot done. There's one in September there, and you can drill down and kind of see which sites and things like that they've been done on. So we know the bush job did that one. And you can just kind of keep drilling down to see all those different types of forms that were done on what sites and all those different layers we want to dive into. So that's the completion side of things. Then we can dive even further by going into the answers. So this is where we can kind of see, again, a certain form, maybe even your substances you can put in there as well. We find a form, and then we're going to go and, again, dive in a bit deeper as to what sites maybe those that form was completed on. And then you can kind of go through different answers as well. So maybe what's the specific hazard that people are coming across quite a lot. And you can see those different dates and things like that that people are diving into and engaging lots with. Lastly, you have your actual hazard section. So this one here also dives into the hazard categories. So any kind of hazard form that we kind of create, you can find all those different categories that we've got assigned to our hazards. And what we can do is kind of choose the different places. So we'd start probably with sites. So we can see all those different sites and all the hazards we've kind of come across on all of them. And then what we can do is filter down. So I might say, I just want to see the bush, heritage, and the bungalow site. That's going to hone in on those specific 3. And then we can see how many. So we've got heritage has had 8 hazard categories assigned. Bungalow's got 5, all within August. And then what we can do is drill further. So maybe I want to move past the sites and I want to dive into those 3 sites specifically as well and see, okay, cool. Within them, what hazard categories are kind of coming up the most? And you can also hone in on which categories you want to look at. This is just the general, all of them. So we can see across those 3 sites, all of the hazard categories that are showing up here and their ratio as well. So we've got 1 noise and vibration this month across all 3 sites. And then we've got 2 mobile plant and equipment kind of hazard categories touched on across all 3 sites. So I might want to hone in on 1 or 2 specifically. Maybe let's do environmental risks. I'll choose that and we can see, okay, cool. So across those 3 sites, only July and August have engaged with the environmental risks. So maybe we need to look at those 3 sites and what environmental issues are happening around those sites. Cool. Then from there, even you can also put the status too. So if we want to kind of see the status of those different hazards, whether they're live or not live, you can also hone in on those 3 sites and how many are live across that month, how many are live until across that month, and then also how many are not live across that month. So definitely have a play with this, hone in on those specific categories you're seeing, what sites they're going on, and then also the different date ranges that you can play with as well, so that we can kind of get those different stats out. Then lastly, if you want to get different visuals, we can change those graphs as well, so that we can kind of get this exported out to the board or to anyone else you need to show this to. Obviously, this is something you can live do in front of people. So show up your account and then say, hey, okay, these are the stats we're kind of capturing in regards to our hazards. And then people in the meeting can be like, oh, can we change this field so that we can see what's going on this site or what's going on with these different categories that are happening in regards to our hazards. So have a play with it. It's definitely fun to start kind of adjusting all the filters and seeing what happens in regards to all of them. Cool. So that is that kind of section here. Now you also do have this little graph here too, which is really good and generic across the whole, all of the sites, all of the company. So you can see kind of all of those different hazards that are coming up, all those hazards categories that are coming up across the whole company and their ratios in comparison to each other across the board. So we can see which hazards or hazard categories are kind of coming up the most that we might need to be like, oh, okay, as a company in general, we know that site layout, environmental, slips and trips and falls are like our most apparent things to be aware of. So we know that that's a big one there. And maybe also we've got environmental risks in general as well. There's 5 of those across the whole company. So we can kind of keep track of all of that in one place. Cool. So that is the gist of your analysis tab. Definitely have a dive into this, get into all of those little drill down options there. And that's going to kind of guide you to get more and more out of your data. Last little thing in regards to the hazard kind of analysis and reporting we can capture is in the dashboard. This one's a little bit smaller, but it's really handy to kind of go and find what you need. So you have got this tile within your dashboard here that has got a summary of all the hazard board hazards that have been loaded in. So if we're going into sites and we're building on those hazard boards, this is that report that's going to pull a summary of all of them. So this here has that list of the most kind of current ones that have come up. And what you can do is just click on any one and it'll kind of lead you through to where that hazard is on the site it's applicable to, so that you can kind of change it if you need to, or add any details as well. So a really nice little kind of zip line to get through to your hazard and see what's been loaded in. Awesome. All right. That is pretty much the gist in regards to everything you need to know about hazard management. So first off is loading in those resources that are applicable, and then also updating those hazards and risks and those control measures so that you know the team are choosing from the right things when they complete these hazard kind of forms and hazard board. And then we want to go into our sites, make sure our hazard boards are all looking gorgeous. They've got all the kind of matrices done on them, the PPEs there. We've imported the right ones from other sites to new sites, and that's already flowing through to the app for the team to see and acknowledge. Then you have your forms where we can dive into things like your JSAs and TAs. And then we've got kind of your asbestos you can jump into, any kind of site-wide risk assessment forms we might want to build, or even just kind of resources pulling into a form to view and acknowledge and, yeah, get as part of your reporting. Then once we've got all that data, we then go to our reports and we can go and pull out that form completion. And also we can jump into our dashboard where we can find those hazard boards specifically that are kind of fresh and new. And then also jump into the analysis where you've got those kind of deeper dives into the answers within those forms you've created, and then also the hazards that have been created in regards to those categories we're selecting. Awesome. All right. So that is the overview and the gist of all your hazards. I'm now going to jump into the Q&A section. So Sophie might jump on and have a bit of a chat with us as well. And we can kind of get to all your questions. So feel free to pop anything into that Q&A part, and then also in the chat as well. I know Sophie's already been firing away at a lot of it. How's it going?
Hey, good. That was awesome. Nice work. That's I think, yeah, I've been having a lot of chats in the Q&A, so we might have covered everything, but we'll see if anyone else pushes anything else through. But what would be good to cover, we were talking quite a lot about the recording for this session, as well as the weekly sessions that we've introduced as well. So it might be good for you to touch on that now, just in case anyone's typing some questions away too.
Yeah, so sorry, can you just repeat that question again, that last one?
Yeah, so do you want to go through the new weekly webinars that are coming up, and then how they're running, who they should push through for our weekly regular webinars?
Totally. Okay, super exciting. So we have currently our monthly is going to be that general one that comes through monthly, and you guys will see that. Also, the registration for that will pop over and change to the next month's after the session, so you can go and register for that. It is also going to be based on our kind of newer release stuff. So we have a kind of that coming up in the next month, which is very, very exciting. So I'll be diving into all of that for you guys. So definitely go and register for that if you want to hear about all the new release things that are coming about. So that's the monthly stuff that's kind of rolling off of today's one. And then we also do have, like Sophie was saying, our weekly webinars coming up as well. So we always have our Getting Started with SiteApp Pro on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. And that is with Bradley, and he kind of guides you through the general idea of getting your whole account set up. So whether you're kind of new to SiteApp Pro and you're just starting and want to learn how to set your account up, or whether you are a bit rusty and you might need to kind of go over some things maybe, which is totally fine. Definitely jump into that too, or send anyone else who may be new to the team and needs to learn about the system as well. It's really good to just get that overview and then go and talk to your team more about how you're specifically putting process in place. Then on Thursdays, so tomorrow morning at 9 a.m, I'm going to be running a Train the Team. It's actually launching from this week, so very excited to have this kind of new one coming through. And it's really going to be handy for anyone who's using the mobile view. So any kind of team leads who are kind of running the team and making sure they're engaging, and then also the end users as well, all the people who are kind of field workers or contractors that are using the app and maybe struggling with engagement a little bit. They're going to be really good to send to this webinar so they can learn everything they can do with the mobile app, and how they can engage with it and all that kind of good stuff. So those are kind of our rotational ones that are happening every single week that are getting started and that train the team. And then, yeah, look out on the monthly basis for ones like today. And then next month is going to be that new release one.
Oh, awesome. Those team ones are awesome as well to if you do a, monthly barbecue, which I know some of you do with your team, or a weekly catch up, just to place, Rochelle on the big screen, have her run through everything for the first half an hour of your meeting, and then go through, your incidents and the rest of the things you need to discuss from there as well. So we've had some great engagement for the signups so far. And feel free to send people, every week, every month, if you know they're the ones, look at the engagement score, see the ones who are maybe not engaging so well, send them to the webinar, and then hopefully you can see the progress through their stats inside of Site App Pro as well. So yeah, it's awesome.
Oh,
Only other thing, I think we answered a lot of the questions live. The only other thing that was coming through was just like a few questions around, I don't have this feature in my pack, I don't have this one. So that analysis tab feature is super powerful for your reporting to get that overview. We've got a lot of awesome companies using that to, screenshot it or export that information and pop it in their monthly report that they have to send to their boss or board or clients as well. So that does come in our premium plan at the moment. So please feel free to let us know if you're interested in that. And the hazard board as well is restricted to some of the plans, and it's not in some of our legacy plans. So if you find you can't find it or see it, that's probably why. And then just reach out to us, and we're more than happy to show you more about that feature, and then also everything else that comes with the new pack that would be the one that includes that too. So let us know. We're happy to have a conversation about it too if you just wanted to learn more before biting the bullet, so you can show the value to your team, and then get that signed off by your boss, and implement it with your team too. So yeah, I think those were the main things, Rochelle. The rest of the questions are all about how to watch the recordings. So that's in that video education center where the registration signups are for the future webinars. And then Rochelle will send an email out sometime today or tomorrow with, additional information too. But yeah, I'll throw it back to you.
awesome. On that note of everything you can kind of see from here in regards to those recordings and stuff, there's obviously Site App Pro support as well. So flick any emails or questions and queries through to that as well. And we can kind of guide you in certain directions to help out as well in regards to setting all those, especially the hazards that you've learned about today and how to build that. If you have more questions, just pop it through to support and we can help out in any kind of way we can. And then, yes, like Sophie was saying, we've got that video education center that you can link through to. I'll pop that link in the email so you'll have all of that access. But that's where the recording will be. And also any other kind of registrations for future webinars, and then also all the kind of webinars on demand. So if you need to see last month's or previous webinars we've done, you can kind of go see them there too. So you can have all the knowledge will be to find in that location. So definitely head there so you can kind of filter through what you need and then be like, yep, I know everything. I'm a pro now. Awesome.
Definitely. Just to highlight as well, I know you mentioned the release webinar for next month, but we do have some really awesome features coming up in our next release. So we highly recommend to register to that so you can release most likely would have happened by the time that webinar is there. So you would have maybe seen some of the features, and then Rochelle will help you learn how to use them and why we've put them there in the first place too. So do keep an eye out for that, register, and keep an eye out for our release note emails and everything that's to come from here too.
Awesome. Oh, I think we actually have a question.
Oh, we do. Oh yeah, Leanne, I'll have a look and Rochelle can get in touch after this session as well. So we'll have a look to see if you've got that hazard board, and yeah, we can be in touch from there.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, guys. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your Wednesday. Happy hump day. And yeah, hopefully we'll get everything sorted and we can kind of, talk to you more in detail if you guys want to chat. Awesome. Thank you so much and have fun.
Bye.
Bye.